Well, this is why I believe there's no such thing as a perfect story. You can't achieve 10 out of 10, but you know.
So would you have preferred him to make the story less interesting?
No, come on. Why would I say that?
But then you're taking points off for him making it more interesting.
Because he's the one who wrote it. I didn't write it. You're the one who wrote it, and I'm taking points off what you wrote. Like, it's not hard.
Could you forgive a 13-year-old for killing somebody you love? It's easy to say no, but think about it. 13 is an age of chaos, an underdeveloped brain, reckless emotions, and a complete lack of foresight. Teens that age aren't built for morality, they're built for mistakes. So what happens when one of those mistakes end in blood? Could you truly forgive a child who took the life of a parent, a sibling, or a best friend? Let me give you some context. In a robbery gone wrong, Margot's gang leader Eddie shot Anna's parents in cold blood. And then, in the aftermath, Margot suggested that they burn the house down to destroy the evidence. They soaked the place in flammable liquid. Margot held the match. When she bent down to strike it, she locked eyes with 2 children hiding under the bed. 5-year-old Anna and her older brother Andrew, 2 terrified kids, barely breathing, hoping not to be seen. And Margot saw them. After a second of hesitation, she still set the house on fire. Was it fear that made her do it? Was she worried they would talk because they were witnesses? Or maybe the why doesn't even matter. Maybe some actions are so monstrous they eclipse intent. So here's the question. 1, would you say she intended to kill them? And 2, we know that the children escaped, but if they had died, would that make her worse than somebody who kills in cold blood or kills out of anger?
Loaded question.
Pause this video right now. Go and read. You killed me first. Bye.
John Mars. And when you read it, you can join us for the discussion.
Or you can join us anyway, because I'm going to tell you all about it. My name's Elijah.
And I'm Joseph, and welcome to the Aisha Library.
So you saw me score this
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that time.
So loaded questions. There's a lot there.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. What I've always said is that...
we can start with the easy one. Would you say she intended to kill them?
No. That's not the easy one. What are you talking about? That's not the easy one. That's not the easy one. What was going through this fictional character's mind and what were her intentions? Show you're working out. It's not an easy question.
So she locked eyes with them, struck the match.
She was there. The match was on the thing. She probably already sent the signals.
No. She had not ignited anything. She went down, locked eyes, saw them, thought about it, woof. Because I asked my dad, he said she intended to kill them, 100%.
I know why he said that, because I know what he's like. Yeah. He did jury them 2 times. He thinks he's a judge. So
you think he's judge jury?
He likes to interpret the law all the time. So he was thinking, you can't claim that you didn't, is what he means. You can't claim you didn't intend to kill them. You set fire to the house while it was there. You can't claim you didn't intend to kill them. Yeah. That doesn't mean she did intend to kill them, though. You know, weird perversion of logic.
So do you think she did not intend to kill them?
I think she didn't intend to kill them. But I don't think you could claim that at a court of law, though. You couldn't claim it, because the judge would be like, so what happens when you set fire to a house with people inside?
Okay.
Show your work.
So she didn't intend to kill them.
I don't think
so. What she was acting? I honestly believe she was acting. She was caught in a spiral of self-preservation.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
That's a good way to put it.
She didn't think I want them dead.
I could tell you thought that out before, and you didn't just come up with that.
Yeah.
That's too good.
Well, to be fair, I actually planned for you to think that she did intend to kill them, and I had the opposite argument, because I calculated that you would say that she definitely intended to kill them, but I was wrong, surprisingly. First time for everything. But yeah, if she had killed them, would that make her worse than somebody who kills in cold blood or out of anger?
All right. Out of anger, maybe not. But what I always say is that someone who kills out of cold blood, for example, killing out of cold blood tends to be a calculated decision. Yeah. When someone makes a calculated decision, that means they're in control of their chaos. You know, they're not unpredictable. They're not going to do... They're in control. So whatever they do is going to be for a reason. It's going to be for an end. When people commit crimes of passion, you're killing out of anger. You're not in control of that.
Yeah, but so what you're saying is somebody who's a cold-blooded killer is more trustworthy, is less of a risk to the public.
They can be. I would say they're more predictable.
Yeah. So they're actually
you probably would prefer that, strange as it sounds, because somebody who just kills out of nowhere. First of all, you can never tell what they're about to do.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't even know what they're about to do. They just, act, which is not a thing anybody wants to be around.
The way we go on, cold-blooded killer is the worst thing ever. That's the way the system is. That's what we believe as well. So is she killed from out of indifference? Well, she didn't kill, but it was indifference.
Yeah.
But isn't indifference worse?
Well, that's kind of what I think, because you killed because you didn't care enough to not.
Yeah, which is unhuman.
Inhumane, yeah. See, you got all the words today, have you?
Lastly, is she evil?
Well, now that's a question that I can't answer. How could I answer that? Is she evil? No. I'm gonna say no.
You think
I'm gonna say
to
no.
light a house on fire with 2 children?
I didn't say that's not an evil act, did I?
Okay, all right.
I don't think she's
Was
evil.
that an evil act?
Yeah.
So why is she not evil then?
Huh?
Why is she not evil? If
Well,
she
does being capable of evil make you evil?
I think carrying out evil,
Once makes you evil.
it's got to start somewhere, isn't it?
No, true.
It's not like it's the only evil thing she done.
No, of course not. Wait, okay, let me just ask you this. And let me ask you this: if you steal once, are you a thief?
Are you going to ask me about alcohol next?
Huh?
Are you going to ask me about alcohol next if I say yes?
What do you mean?
If you have one drink, are you an alcoholic?
Well, you could go down that route, but that's kind of different because alcoholic, it's you got to be addicted. Let's say.
Yeah, no. If you steal once, then you're a thief, technically. Yeah.
You're a thief.
Yeah.
For life.
I don't know. You have.
Do you know what I mean?
You are. Yeah.
You're a bad person.
I don't think stealing's wrong.
Well, now there's no, I don't know where to go now.
You always got to throw a curveball in there.
It's a good tactic. Yeah.
Let's start talking
I'm gonna
nonsense.
start doing that. Yeah, 100%. Just to throw them off
It
course.
always works. Now you don't know where.
0-0 draw. 0-0
All
draw.
right. So, what
100%.
did you think about the book then? Because that was a long.
It was a very entertaining read. There was things I didn't like about it. I found it a bit confusing at points. But not only was it entertaining, it was funny. It was easy to read. The chapters were very brief. You're moving on to the next one. It kept me hooked. Kept me entertained. I'd read it again.
You'd read it again.
I'd read it again.
So
Yeah,
you
I said
thoroughly
it.
enjoyed the book.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Wow.
Now what? Now
Okay,
what?
so what did I think of the book? I hear you ask.
I never asked. I never asked.
I can't say that I enjoyed the book. If you suspend your belief, then you can enjoy the ending. I mean, it's filled with action and twists and turns. I can't guarantee you'll make it to the end of the book, though. You might be so confused for most of the book to the point you will give up, which is what I wanted to do. I've got a question. Do you think, or do you agree that this story is something that could not be planned? It had to be sheer improvisation. I don't even think you could reverse engineer a story like this. There were so many reveals. It seemed like the author had to be flying by the seat of his pants. Because he just went in so many different ways. He just thought, what could we do next?
I suppose. Well, I hear what you're saying because John Mars said he's never had fun writing a book like he has with this one. That's what he said.
Well, this
So
is. Do you know
that
what?
would
I
make
actually
sense, to be
thought.
honest.
I even put not in my notes. It didn't make it into the notes. But I said that I think he just wanted to write. He just wanted to have fun. He didn't care how believable it was, but he wanted to have fun.
He could have.
Yeah. He just wanted to have fun with something. And I guess when you get to a certain level of fame, you can do that.
Yeah, I was
because
about
people
to
are gonna
say.
buy your books anyway, sort of thing.
100%.
And we're gonna
yeah.
buy his books. We're gonna keep buying his books.
He's made his name, and people respect him as an author. And he said, you know what? He's been having fun for everybody
This is
else.
our third. I think this is probably because we've read trilogies and stuff, But I don't know if that counts. But he's probably one of the authors we've read the most from. I mean, again, because we've read trilogies, I want to say I don't count that. But because when you're reading a trilogy from an author, you're reading the same book. You're not seeing the capabilities of an author.
Well, you're reading the same story for sure.
Yeah,
the same story.
yeah. That's what I meant. So when you read actual individual books from an author, you're seeing the different
range.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
So and you would say John Mars is the best range of any author?
No. I was simply saying that we've seen the most from him because
Would
we've
you
read
say he
3
has the
books.
best range of any of the authors, discounting trilogies obviously and series?
I guess so. Because remember, we've read 3 books that are completely different.
I guess yeah, that's true.
And then none of them has been rubbish. Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah. Let's get into how many points do you have?
I've got 5.
I have 5, 6. So I'll go first. I'm sorry. I'm just confused. I don't understand what's happening. I will never understand the need for 3 POVs for 3 people in the same room doing the same things at the same time. I struggled to get a hold of this book. Do you know how many times I had to check the name of the chapter to see whose POV it was supposed to be? And then we started introducing husbands, and then the unknown people were having therapy sessions. So we were introduced to 3 couples, Anna and Drew, Liv and Brandon, Margot and Nico. And we started to see that even though they presented themselves like they were all angels, each of the couples had their own problems. One self-harmed, one was a blackmailer, and the other was what we like to call a narcissist. You know, we like to throw that name around, that word around. So very early on...
Seems like you're defending narcissists there.
I wonder why.
I know, right?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So very early on, as I said, I was very confused, but from what I could understand, I could see the book was quite creative. The way John Mars done his best to keep us in the dark in terms of, was there supernatural or was there not?
Yeah.
So I'd say 3/4 of the book, I didn't know what was going on.
I knew it was going to do like the whole supernatural. Anyway, I'll get onto this.
But it wasn't, just to be clear, because I was reading reviews and people were really talking about supernatural, and I was like, but there was no supernatural element. It was just psycho. She was just a psycho, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed...
She was imagining it.
Yeah,
the way he wrote it, was like it was supernatural.
Which is why I've decided to say it's supernatural. Because you put it in without putting it in, but you did put it in. And so, like, you could put this book into a supernatural category. Because it was... I understand why people are saying that there were supernatural elements in it. I understand why they were saying it in reviews.
I think she was
That's not fair to do that, though. You can't say, oh, but he imagined it. And that means you didn't put any supernatural elements in there. So if I put, Superman flying out orbit in my story or whatever, and then I say, oh, my character imagined it, does that mean there was no supernatural elements in my story? That's not fair, though. That's not fair. That's cheating.
That's what I would say.
I think that's cheating.
Fair enough.
And that's probably one of the major issues I had with the book, but I'll get onto it anyways. In the opening of You Killed Me First, an unnamed woman wakes up trapped in a bonfire on the 5th of November and doomed to burn to death. As she regains her consciousness, a phone that someone obviously planted on her begins to ring, and she speaks with her captor. As the woman begs for mercy, her captor only laughs and says, "You killed me first."
Yeah.
And roll credits. The stage is perfectly set for the time skip's unholy sibling, the flashback. This is a simple but effective template that authors use to show us the ending first and then retroactively give us the context little bit by little bit, almost like reverse searing a book. The advantage, obviously, is that the end is the best bit, and this way the author doesn't risk us DNFing before we get there. Funnily enough, the author did actually risk people DNFing, clearly, as you said, because you wanted to DNF the book.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a very interesting start, you're a woman trapped in a bonfire and the person said, "You killed me first."
Yeah,
my God,
it doesn't really get more interesting than that.
Yeah, 100%.
And again, this is another example of him using he dangling the supernatural element.
Yeah, you're thinking, what could "you killed me first" mean?
Yeah, but it was that bit was done well because it was true. She did kill him first. He was dead for a couple of seconds or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I started to see that Anna was a complete psycho. It's interesting. It's so many ways to depict somebody who's crazy. You could make them violent, loud, and aggressive, but no, Anna, after killing, she would hear her victims' voices in her head. One of her victims, Johanna, always compelled her to self-harm. After Anna carried out Johanna's bidding, and she sliced her leg open, in a moment of clarity, she scolded herself. She said, "Why do I keep allowing Johanna to hurt me?" Absolute psycho. It's one thing to do crazy things, but when you are telling yourself off for something that's not in your control, when it really is in your control, there was layers there. There was layers of craziness there.
Insane.
And I think you can only write something like that with extensive research, or maybe John Mars is a psycho.
Or his wife is insane, or something like that.
I could believe that.
The first chapter hits us with an 11 months before bonfire night, right on cue. Again, it's not a bad story template, but 11 months is a bit much, I thought. Our main characters are neighbours Margot and Anna, who are welcoming the new neighbour Liv to the street with gifts of wine and mince pies. But beneath all the pleasantries, each woman seems to have their own agenda. John Mars is an author with a good reputation on this channel, but I'm particularly enjoying his writing style here. It has more dimensions to it than just describing people or places. The dialogue has a tasteful injection of humour, but it's not overly done. The chapters are short, punchy, and easy to get through, but each one leaves you wanting to read another one, like demolishing a packet of chocolate digestives. So, especially early on, I was thinking, I'm just enjoying... There were so many lines of dialogue that I thought that was cleverly written, you know, that this is unique, that he actually thought about this, and it was entertaining. It was just an entertaining read, to be honest. I found the characters entertaining. It was funny. So, you know, could have been worse.
This one's for you then. Oh, my jaw's really hurting. You know, my
What you been doing?
Oh. You get excited.
I like how you turn it back on me.
Oh, you been doing that too?
Oh, dead.
Yeah, you can't come for me and think I ain't gonna pause.
Yeah, no, legit, you can't stop. You even do it yourself now.
Is this book trying too hard to be current? Countless times the characters have mentioned TikTok, cancel culture, and OnlyFans. I think it was Liv who had an internal argument with herself over the morality of the degradation found on OnlyFans. She was saying things like, it's great that women can be independent and they can make their own money and lead their own lives. And then she'd say things like, can I really call myself an independent woman if I'm making all my money off the back of men that are lonely and desperate? And it's like John Mars is trying to land himself in hot water now. But what I do know is that this book is definitely trying to be too woke. Margot's 13-year-old daughter had decided to identify as non-binary. Why, John Mars? And for what purpose? If this is a genuine nod to the LGBTQ plus community, then why not choose a child? Then why choose a child to carry the flame? And why not one of the main characters? If it was about inclusivity, then why weren't any of the couples gay or lesbian, for example? Why is it this 13-year-old child? Surely readers are most likely going to see this child as somebody who is misguided and is just going through a phase. So do you think that was a genuine stab at inclusivity, or was he mocking legitimate non-binary people?
No, I think... I don't know if people will see it as a phase because, well, I don't know if you know about any of the narratives that go on today, but people kind of look at it as when you're an adult, you do what you want, innit? Do what you want, you're an adult. Doesn't really mean anything, but, well, they say, and this is probably true, the LGBT target children.
Yeah.
And obviously you have to, you know, to pass things on to the next generation, like I said, with brands, etc. And it's, you know, things like hormone blockers, you know, gender affirming care. It's all to do with the youth.
Yeah,
now.
All right, cool. But what are you saying that John Mars is genuinely being inclusive, or
that's what it seems like to me?
Oh, okay,
that's
you never thought he's taking a mick out of it.
Nah.
Because why, if you really was interested in inclusivity, you would do something more than just one little misguided 13-year-old child.
Maybe not, but I think some people look at it as like, if sorry to cut you off. If LGBT people can only be in a story when they have some significance to the plot, let's say, is that really inclusivity? You know, you would never question it if it was, say, a ginger character who was just there, or, you know, a black character who was just there. Well, you wouldn't be like, why are they just there?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But what I will say is we had Cadman and Gabriel. Gabriel from
from the family experiment,
and those were, you know, gays that were main characters. So
the major reason why I don't believe he was mocking LGBT people was because that's career suicide.
No, but subtly, you know,
he
was being creative.
Career suicide. Like, it's no one's. You don't risk it, especially not the LGBT community. Even if it's blacks, you could probably get away with that. They give you a raise.
Anybody want to
give you a reward.
Fuck with the LGBT.
But yeah, no, it's career suicide. It's not worth it. And if you include them, it's just, it will only benefit your career. So a smart person would only, you know, just include them and take your medicine.
Fair enough.
As they say. But that's what I believed anyway. This is a psychological book in more ways than one. Not only do we have an 11-month-long ticking doomsday clock, but John Mars is writing in such a way that it gets us to think things that I've never thought before. There are certain lines of dialogue that are so genuine that it makes me feel like the characters are actually real. For example, Margot says, "I'd rather be a shot of tequila than everybody's cup of tea." Which I thought was a really missed it. That was a really good line.
You would get that one, wouldn't you, Yaki?
Because I drink lots of tea.
Me too.
I drink lots of tea. No, but I thought it was really good because it's not explained what it means, but it's very, very clear what it means.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was an example of masterful writing, in my opinion. I don't want to sound like I'm riding this guy's dick too hard.
Joking, mate. The moment Margot became a monster. It took me 59 chapters to realise Margot isn't just flawed, she's rotten to the core. The cheating, okay, fine, temptation happens. Running Liv over, messed up, but maybe she lost control. But this, Margot visits Liv in the hospital, the very woman she put there. And while Liv, bruised, battered, barely holding herself together, is helped to the toilet, Margot rifles through her phone, finds private photos, and sends them to herself. That's not just betrayal. That's not just heartless. That's diabolical.
Yeah, it is the definition
So
of
can you
diabolical.
imagine, Joseph? Next thing you know, Joseph's dick pics are everywhere.
Oh, well.
Deep dildos. Videos gone viral. So am I onto something then, or am I crazy for saying that her stealing the nudes was the worst thing?
What?
Stealing the nudes, because do
Yeah.
you think that's? I think
The
that
worst
was,
thing that she did.
I think that was okay. Forget the fire. That we'll see that.
I
But
was thinking about running over, bro.
no,
I
I honestly think. Look, she ran Liv over, but she didn't mean to.
And you can get, and what she, you can heal from that, is what you're saying.
No, but I think it's a step further because she not only put the person in hospital, instead of going there to console them, I'm so sorry, or, to look after them, she's then gone a step further and she's stealing from her while she's
Yeah.
down. So it's just
Yeah.
like, bloody, and then you're stealing nudes on top of it.
Yeah, and that is diabolical, You can't accidentally go in someone's phone and steal their nudes and send them to yourself. That's not an accident, that's calculated.
It was just mad. I just thought,
In courts of law, they always do say when you premeditate something, it takes it to another degree of crime.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, yeah, I guess, to be honest, you have a good point there. I think you should go again, because I've got 2 more, and you had 1 more than me, innit?
I got 2 more.
How?
I went
How?
first because I just
yeah.
did number
I
5.
forgot how numbers work.
Because you ain't got any, that's why. Zero's a number.
Probably the major complaint I have with this story is that it sneakily decided to be a paranormal and thought we wouldn't notice. So, I know you disagree with it because we already went over this, but...
but what's wrong with that?
Well, I don't like it because I feel like... Well, I've said this with Behind Her Eyes, when it decided to randomly be paranormal end.
So what you're saying is somebody is not allowed to be crazy and see things.
No, I'm not saying that.
Because that's
I'm just
basically
saying,
what it sounds
no,
like.
I'm simply saying, here, no. That's what I'm saying. I just... Look, I still read it. I still enjoyed it. I'd probably still read it again. But I just...
It took away from the story. You'd rather it wasn't in there.
Cool. Like you said, you have to suspend your belief, and I think points should be taken off of that. It's still enjoyable, but you have to suspend your belief to read it, and I believe points should be taken off of that, which I think is fair to say.
I think that's fair enough. But wait. So we're taking off points because you have to suspend your belief. But what if that story is better? What if the story is better because it's more unbelievable? So there's more action. There's lots more action. So basically, he's tried to put more points on to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
But you're taking points off.
Well, this is why I believe there's no such thing as a perfect story. You can't achieve 10 out of 10, but,
So would you have preferred him to make the story less interesting?
No, come on, why would I say that?
But then you're taking points off for him making it more interesting.
Because he's the one who wrote it. I didn't write it. You're the one who wrote it, and I'm taking points off what you wrote. Like, it's not hard.
You're knocking him down points.
This is like
I need the charger off.
This is like, yeah, we're gonna have to get it after this one. This is like, when they go on Hell's Kitchen, they say we're looking for something special, not looking for something that we've seen 1,000 times before. Look at something unique, and then you give them, a ginger cookie encrusted chicken, for example.
Oh,
and they say, well, this is shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it's unique, and you're like, yeah, but it's not good, sort of thing. And it's like, it's your job to give us something unique and good.
Fair enough. Is it me?
Yeah.
Why was Liv in the story? We know the whole story is about Margot and Anna, but where exactly did Liv come into it? It felt like she was randomly plonked into the story. She was more or less irrelevant to the story up until the last quarter of the book. Out of nowhere, she became the most important character, blackmailing both Anna and Margot. Liv had footage of the hit-and-run incident where Margot tried to kill her. So would you say that Margot intended to kill Liv then?
No.
Where she left her for dead.
I'll tell you this. I think if you have a car...
We're seeing a pattern here now.
Yeah, no, I know. But if you have a car and you intend to kill somebody, how do you not succeed? If you have a car, you intend to hit somebody and kill them, how do you not succeed?
The human body is resilient. Sometimes people been in dire situations where limbs are hanging off and they still survive.
No,
for
I get
hours.
it, but you intend to kill them and you fail with a car. How?
So what is you're saying? You're simply saying that she didn't intend to kill her because she didn't kill her.
I'm saying that with such overwhelming advantage, how do you not succeed?
So what are you? I hear what you're saying, but you're
Yeah.
saying that that's the reason why she didn't intend to kill
That's
her.
the reason why I would say she didn't intend to kill her, because how can you not succeed? You have a car and they don't have a car. They
I
got only legs.
don't believe she intended to kill her. I definitely think she intended to do her some damage.
I mean, that's different question, but
But so and then Liv also found Drew's body. Anna had murdered her own brother and stored his body in a freezer in her garage. So yeah, shock after shock after shock.
yeah. Spoiler alert. By the
In
way.
retaliation to the blackmail, Anna and Margot framed Liv for murder.
Yeah, now that was insane.
That was going over
That
the
was
top,
insane.
innit?
You Liv and Brandon. Liv and Brandon.
Yeah. Remember, I think it was Anna was able to sneak onto Liv's computer and delete all the incriminating evidence, so all the blackmail material, and still they went and framed her for murder.
Yeah,
So
nah,
they
insane.
could have just deleted it and gone about their
Let it go.
business.
Nah, but she knows. Liv knows. And people are dangerous when they know. So they was like, we've got to get rid of her.
But you got to remember.
Surprised they didn't kill her.
You got to remember, if somebody is blackmailing you, then they are doing you a favor. They could have just gone public with the information.
I mean, I don't know if I would say they're doing you a favor.
They are.
No,
There's no
but I
two
don't know
ways
if I would
about it.
say. Yeah, there is definitely two ways about
There
it. I don't know if-
isn't.
Listen, I don't know
Would
if
you
I would
prefer
say
somebody to go to public that you
that's
murder someone
not the
or
same
blackmail
question.
you?
That's not the same question.
If they do something you would prefer, that
Listen,
you would choose,
that's
then
not the same question.
You are literally paying somebody for their silence. They're doing
Listen,
you a favor.
That's not the
Whether
same question.
you feel like they're doing
Listen,
you a favor or not,
it's
they're
not the same
still
question.
doing you a favor.
It's not the same question. If somebody said to you, listen, here's a knife, chop your own arms off, or chop your brother's arms off, what would you,
I know, I do.
But if, for example,
Which brother is it? No, honestly, remember, look, Margot knocked her over.
Yeah.
And she's blackmailing her with that footage.
Yeah.
She's doing, you knocked me over, pay me some money.
listen, that's
Compensation.
Not, listen, if they said that in that instance, maybe you could look at it as that I'm doing you a favor, but you're not doing them a favor. At best, you're doing both of us a favor.
Okay, then.
At
You're
best,
still
but
doing-
at best is not always the way reality is. Blackmail's not doing you a favor.
It is.
Listen, it can be looked at as that, but it's not
I think
necessarily
most people
doing
would
somebody a
rather be
favour.
blackmailed than...
That's again that's
Because
neither here nor there.
realistically, when you're being blackmailed, the power is in your hands. It's not in the blackmailer's hands.
Yeah, of course, and
Because
I always
you
say-
can go public.
The
and
answer
then
to
the
the answer to blackmail is, of course, kill them. That is
Not
the
just that, but
key.
if you don't want to be blackmailed, then you don't have to be.
Yeah, of course.
You could,
You
unless
could just get
someone's
burned. You could just choose to be
exactly.
burned.
Unless they got your family hostage or something like that. Then
Even then, even then, do it. Kill them.
never liked them anyway.
The key thing to remember, you're doing me a favor. The key thing to remember here is they don't want to burn you. They want whatever you have. They want to
Exactly,
get something out of
exactly.
you. So you can make the best thing you can do is make this a lose-lose.
No, you can make it a win-win.
Lose.
Yeah, no, you're always on the
Nil, nil draw.
you're on the stick forever, mate. If you
Yeah, that's
you
no
can't
life.
trust it. If it was a case of, I mean,
That's no
even the
way
way
to live.
Liv was going on anyway, she'd blackmail people and then say, oh well, anytime I need some more, I can just go back to them.
Maybe that's why she kept surviving. Her name's Liv. She said, I'm live, not die. I will survive. But yeah, nah. Blackmailing the two of them at once was insane. But setting
There
her
was
and her
no-
husband up for murder was
Yeah.
even worse. Deleting all the
She didn't
evidence.
need to, she didn't need to bring them together to blackmail
Yeah,
them. She
that's
could have
true.
done it individually,
Yeah,
but
that's
she
true.
went
Which is
to
what a smart person
she went
would've
to
done.
stunt on them, sort
Yeah.
of thing like you belong to me now.
Which is what blackmail is all about. It's a power trip,
Yeah,
really.
yes,
So,
and,
and then
she did have the power kink anyway.
then yeah,
Spanking
exactly.
her husband.
Nah, it's insane. They deserve to go to prison just for that. I don't feel sorry for them.
You know, like a bit of spanky.
I like it just fine, mate. But you've got to have the right ratio. You've got to have the right formula.
Oh my gosh.
This is the kind of book. Oh wait, no, I'm reading the wrong one.
So wait, you got two more then?
No, I've just read the wrong one. Don't worry, I'll click this.
It's not that deep.
As I said, the chapters of this book are brief but entertaining and promising. The book was quick to grab our attention. The roster of characters was smaller than a lot of other books, but there's so much passive aggressiveness in the way that they interact that it makes every scene like a minefield, which I found entertaining. I would read it again. I'd read it again.
All right, next week.
Would you not? I'd read it again.
I want my money back.
Really?
I didn't like it. It was too. When I'm confused for half the book and I don't know, I can't tell the characters apart. I think Margot was a good character, and then Anna turned out to be a good character as well. I did really like Margot, but it was like, what's the point of Liv? And I just didn't. The flipping between the POVs, I don't think the POVs added anything to the story. Did we get insight from living with Liv, from being with Liv? Not really.
I guess not.
Did we get some insight from Margot's point of view? I don't know.
Oh, I forgot. There's something I wanted to ask you actually. You said, is the author trying to be too current and like bringing up things like OnlyFans, and there was even a couple of Desperate Housewives references as well in there. Yeah. Not that I watch Desperate Housewives, but do you remember when we read? I forgot what it was, but it was the author invented their own social media app.
Quite recently.
Yeah,
it was
it was on with the little girl.
It was Variation.
Yeah, Variation.
Seconds.
Seconds.
Yeah.
What a very good remembered.
Yeah.
But very well remembered. Me either. But I was thinking, is it better to do that or is it better to do this?
It's better
because you complained about both.
No. I simply look. If you want to mention social media for whatever reason, cool. But it felt like they kept bringing up the current wokery things. Yeah. And I don't... if I'm writing a story, I'd want it to be timeless. I don't want people to... I want you to be immersed in what's going on. But when we're talking about things that are current, they're like, oh, this book is new. Like, oh, this is... And then when people read the book in years to come, they're going to know exactly when the time frame it was. It's not... It's not a big deal, but as I said, I want to be immersed in the story, and these things wake me up.
That's a good way to put it, to be fair. You want a book to be timeless. What about if a book mentioned COVID?
Yeah, see, I hate that sort of thing.
You really?
Yeah.
I remember when books first started mentioning COVID, and it was so weird.
Yeah,
I was like, why are you talking about COVID?
I don't like that stuff. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I guess now I'm probably numb to it, but at the same time, when it first came out,
anytime you're mentioning COVID, it's like, oh, you're trying to be current straight away. It's just like, why?
Well, you close the book straight away, you close it.
Lastly, the thing that annoys me is the massive plot holes in this book. The detective that Drew kills. Realistically, you can't just murder a police officer and expect no one to notice. Yeah. Where's the follow-up? He had a car, surely parked outside the house, and a phone that could have been tracked. Did no one from the department investigate his disappearance? No missing persons report, no family or colleagues raising alarms. It's completely unrealistic that a detective would vanish without a trace and no one would question it. The book acts like his entire existence just evaporated, and it's a major oversight that really breaks immersion. So why would you do that? I reckon John Miles just said, I'm writing a book, I'm going to make it, but I'm not going to make no attempt in making it believable.
Well,
which is kind of what we said before.
It is kind of what we said before.
But yeah.
He had fun writing it, so job well done in his opinion. He said it, job well done in my opinion.
Who gives a fuck if you enjoyed it? We're supposed to enjoy it, not you selfish prick. But yeah, you obviously thought it was 5 stars.
10 stars.
What did you think out of 5? Then?
I would say 3.
Strong 4. Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd say 3.
You said you really enjoyed it. You'd read it again.
4 is
3.
Like, 4 is like. Have we ever given a book 5 out of 5? First of all,
yeah,
fiction book.
Oh, the favorites.
Was that a 5 out of 5? I'm trying to remember.
I didn't like the ending.
Yeah. See, I don't think so. 4 out of 5 is basically 5 out of 5. So 3 out of 5 is basically 4 out of 5. How's that for numbers?
Dumbest shit I've ever heard.
How's that for numbers, eh?
We Play Games was a 4 or 5 out of 5.
No, that was a 4 out of 5. Remember, Ben didn't get away in the end.
Yeah, you can't mark a book down for that.
For ruining the ending. Yes, I can.
All right.
And I will.
Oh, I don't have a quote of the day.
Neither do I.
Oh, well.
You said that way too quickly.
You wouldn't have liked my quote anyway.
No, I wouldn't have.
All right. Well, I thought the book was terrible.
Terrible.
No, I didn't think it was terrible. I'd say 2 stars.
You need to be pulled up sometimes. You know? You just say it, and I'm like, listen, calm down, you know.
I didn't like it. I think the first half of it needed to be fixed up. Liv needed some relevance, and in the ending was outlandish. So we got major problems. We got major problems.
Was it Anna ran away to Pakistan? That was insane.
And then she killed Margot in the end as well.
No, she revealed that she killed Margot at the end. She didn't even kill her at the end. She just revealed out of nowhere that Margot was dead.
So I honestly think we had problems with the beginning of the book. the middle, and the ending. So how can I say that this is a good book?
5 stars, like we said.
But yeah, I enjoyed some parts of it. You would recommend it? I absolutely, under no circumstances, would not recommend it.
I guess we read for different reasons, you know.
And your reasons are wrong. But yeah, on that note, it's time to end. Till next time.
Till next time.